Good morning, everyone. Well, it's Carpo on the back porch in the dark, and it's 5:30 a.m. Actually, it's about 5 o'clock a.m. No, it's about 5:30. I got up at about 4:30, 4:45 this morning, and I felt completely refreshed. After a 6 hours sleep, and it's been a while since I did that. Back in the day, like about a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a period in my life where I'd really sleep very little, maybe 6 hours a night, and I was always refreshed and energized. And you'll notice, well, I noticed over time that, of course, many of us will notice that the more things that we consume, the more substances, the more sugar that we eat, the more alcohol we drink, cannabis we smoke, the more we sleep. And it may be a subtle difference, maybe an hour, half hour more. Generally for me, I need about 6.5 hours sleep, maybe 7 tops. And unless I'm consuming something which is causing my body stress. Alcohol is one of those things. I don't drink alcohol for that reason, because the hangovers were never worth the feeling to me. And so when I woke up this morning, I figured it was time to come out and do a review on this new herb I've been taking, Mucuna Pruriens, which is also known as cowage or velvet bean. It's beans in a pod that are ground to a powder, and contains usually between 3 to 8% of L-dopa or levodopa, which is converted by which is the dopamine in the body isn't allowed to cross the blood-brain barrier. Levodopa is, and then it can be converted into dopamine. It's a precursor to dopamine. My fear was that taking plants like this and herbs like this may raise my dopamine levels to unhealthy levels. So I'm very cautious about these things, and over the years I've been starting to get a little anxious about maybe taking kratom too long, even though kratom is very mildly addictive, and it's not going to kill you if you quit. It does resemble opiates in some ways, and it still gives you that edginess if you're not prepared for it. And it also requires redosing. So anyway, everyone has their own personal herbs or foods or whatever that they eat, so I'm not going to go into the details about what works for who, because that's exactly what I'm trying to dispel here, the idea that there's one herb that works for everyone. But I'm going to try to stick to the point. The Mucuna I began taking about 4 days ago. I have felt better each day. The first day I took a teaspoon, which is about 5 grams, which is a pretty healthy dose. Came out to about 1,000 milligrams of levodopa in my system, and I thought, okay, well, we'll see what happens here. So I went and I tried it with, a teaspoon the first day. I was going by actually gram weights, but I'm trying to give you an idea of how much it was. And so the second and third day I minimized the dose a little bit. And then yesterday I went back up and took a full teaspoon after doing more research. Now I've spent countless hours online researching herbs over the years, so it's not like I just jumped in and grabbed some random herb. Yesterday, I wanted to do the experiment, so before I went shopping I took a teaspoon of Mucuna or a teaspoon of kratom together. Now these synergize well together. From what I understand, kratom, like green tea, is a decarboxylase inhibitor, which improves the function of the mucuna, perhaps allows more to get into the body, the bloodstream. I'm not sure. Really, it's the chemistry of it becomes very important when you get into the depth of combining herbs. But when you're talking about singular herbs, they're generally pretty safe and efficient in their own natural form. My question was, if I'm taking a heavy mucuna, which has a heavy L-dopa content, am I doping up my brain? Or am I bringing it to normal levels? And here's what I realized. If the brain doesn't want more dopamine, giving it more levodopa is not going to change that. Only about 1% of L-dopa is converted into the brain into dopamine anyway, as far as we know. And all the rest of it is just waste. And my guess is that the body is going to, if it's low on L-dopa, then by introducing it to the body, you may give it a chance to I guess, to utilize some of it, but not that not like the more you take, the more it's going to utilize. I feel like it seems like the body has a natural shutoff for herbs. When we're taking extracts, it's easy to overdo it, and the body gets overwhelmed because the energies are different with the plants and the substances. Most plants, it seems like, have their own shutoff valve, if you will. And I know that may sound silly to some, but some people will say, hey, no, people overdose from herbs and hurt themselves all the time. This is true. It's not that you can't kill yourself, but being smart about it. Generally, you're not going to, as far as I can see, I've never heard of anyone destroying their entire lives over, particular Ayurvedic herbs or traditional Chinese medicine. This cowage or velvet bean or mucuna, it has become, I think, the top herb in my arsenal. And I'm only making this video to hopefully educate anybody who's interested in it, who may be wanting to try it. After reading countless reviews and reports from people, I heard people say everything from, I took a whole bunch of this herb and it did nothing at all to me, to people saying I took a small amount and I felt great. And this led me to believe that this has a high relation to the body's metabolism, the body's brain chemistry. If it's an herb you need, it's an herb you will seek. Those who smoke cannabis know this well. You have a friend that just does not like cannabis, doesn't work for them. I smoked cannabis in my teen years, so my thought is, according to research that's being done, perhaps when I was younger, by smoking cannabis in my teen years, I have depleted my own dopamine levels, as well as my own my endocannabinoids, or anandamide, which is our version of THC in the body. And if this is true, it would explain why I'm smoking cannabis today still, as well as why Mucuna works so well for me. But I guess what I wanted to get across was the idea that the guilt that people seem to feel over needing to take a supplement or an herb to feel better. Some people seem to think they're like drugs, and they are drugs if you want to define drug as something that helps you. But don't be afraid to try something new that you may benefit from. And this is probably one of the most difficult areas to talk about, because there are people out there who may be watching this video who maybe they have a really slow metabolism. Maybe they're a big person and they have a completely different lifestyle than me and completely different diet from me, and these herbs may not work as well in conjunction with that type of metabolism and that type of diet. I don't know. And this is why it's such a personal thing. And this is why people get scared off from trying herbs, is because they hear somebody say, it didn't do anything for me. If you are going to order some Mucuna, make sure it's from a reputable vendor and that the L-Dopa content is stated. I'd really like to do a separate video here on Canna, K-A-N-N-A. It's a pretty amazing herb in itself, but we'll save that for a different time, because it's an SSRI, and I had a discussion with someone about this. They were saying you shouldn't take SSRIs with MAOIs, which is true. But I researched a little further, and Mucuna is not an MAOI. However, taken with an MAOI, people have questions as to whether or not it's psychoactive. Because if you look at the Mucuna bean and look at the ingredients, it's not just levodopa. It includes serotonin, 5-HTP. There's serotonin on the pods itself, but we don't really want serotonin. We want 5-HTP to convert to our own serotonin, right? So it has all types of different compounds within there, and they all seem to have this synergy that works well for me. What else do I want to say about Mucuna? It should be generally a darker tan or brown color when you buy it, and it will smell kind of earthy. All I can say is if you are taking an MAOI, you know what it is, monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Don't take these herbs without being very cautious. And a lot of people take those. And they take SSRIs as well, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are otherwise known as antidepressants. So I highly wouldn't recommend taking these herbs with antidepressants because of the effects that they may have, a cumulative effect. And if you're taking an MAOI, the cumulative effect can be much worse, because what it does is it stops the oxidation from these amines. So you hear the word tryptamine, methamphetamine, amine, amine. This keeps the amines from breaking down. It's a decarboxylase. See, now I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, yeah. MAOI is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So if you're taking those, you know already to be careful what you take. So I'm definitely not a doctor, and I'm very cautious about what I recommend to people. And many of the herbs that I experiment with, I just kind of try on my own and do my own little thing. And I'm hoping over the next 15, 20 years, I will develop a pharmacopoeia of knowledge to be able to share with people and feel confident about doing so. I made my own blend the other day with some Mucuna and Kratom and a couple of other smaller herbs in small amounts, and gave 4 capsules to somebody, and he said it was just fantastic. I want to keep it, call it Smile All Day, because, that's really what we're after. Just want to smile all day. And here's the key. You don't want to have to come home and come down. And I guess that's why I'm making this video, because I've tried a million herbs and drugs that make me feel great, but then I come down. So the come down on Mucuna has yet to be determined, but it seems to have an efficacy that lasts throughout the day and throughout the night. And one more thought is I sleep way soundly on it. Very intense dreams. It may be difficult to sleep. You might get a little sweaty at first, especially if you take too much. Well, what else do I have? Well, the sun is about to rise, and I guess I'm going to pass on. No, I'm not going to pass on. I'm going to move on. Get out there and do something today. I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty damn good for waking up at 4:30 in the morning. My eyes popped wide open, and I was just like, I'm ready for this day. How is this? How is this? And what's going to happen down the road? And I guess my number one fear is always, are these herbs going to, damage me long term? I've been taking Kratom for 6 years, every day almost, and the only adverse reactions I've found is when I take too much, and my body knows what too much is. So, and one more thought on this. Mucuna appears to be non-addictive, and Kratom is mildly addictive. By taking the Mucuna, it makes me actually want to take much less Kratom, because I find I'm not trying to seek this compulsive, feel-good behavior. This is really the main point I'm trying to make here. I should have made it at the beginning. The compulsive type behavior, which causes us the drug-seeking behavior, it's a reward system. And even if the reward isn't there, if we had the reward at one time, the mind is still predisposed to believe we're going to get that reward. And this is why we'll take a drug, not get the effect we want, and still continue to take it, because we once had that effect. I'd just like to say that Mucuna seems to take those urges away to do other things, or to occupy your mind. It makes you content where you are at. And the big question remains, is that okay? It doesn't make me content 100% of the time, and I think that's the key. You don't want something that makes you doped up and stupid and not realizing what's going on around you, or non-functional, or not be able to stand or type or think. So I'm in full control of my faculties. I think I'm pretty well spoken for 5 o'clock in the morning. So, whatever. I'm going to let this go, and I want to try to film this sunset, because it's going to be a beautiful one. And that crescent moon is just gorgeous. But it's weird, because in the camera it looks like it's really hard to see it. That's why. Probably because I'm getting old and my eyesight makes everything double. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon.